Hello, guys, and welcome back. I'm your host, Jaquez, better known as Linux Lenape, and this video is part two of our Active Directory to Azure Entra ID migration series. All right, the last video we created a virtual machine based out of Germany. We named it, we took the public IP address, and we gave it a custom domain to make it easier to log in, and we logged in to our virtual machine running Windows Server 2022. So we've done a lot already, but the job is not finished. In this video, we're going to focus on configuring the settings to have our own on-premises Active Directory for us. All right. So without further ado, of course, please like, share, and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get started. So you want to log back into your virtual machine. All right. And once you log into your virtual machine running the Windows Server 2022 software, you're going to be prompted with this screen here. Now, like I said in the previous video, we're going to go further in detail on the specific settings that we're using for configuration. You're more than welcome to look into that yourself as well. For right now, and for the sake of time, I just want to get you booted up. So let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is we want to click Manage, and we want to click Add Roles and Features. So let's click Next. We want to keep that selected, role-based or feature-based installation. Let's keep Next. All right. We have our server from the server pool there selected. So let's click Next. Now in this screen, we want to click the checkbox beside Active Directory Domain Services. Let's click Add Features. And let's click DNS Server. And let's add features. Let's click Continue. And let's click Next. All right, we're going to want to leave this default. All right, let's click Next. Let's click Next once again. It gives you a confirmation, and you're going to want to click Install. Usually takes a few minutes for the installation to fully complete, so I'm going to pause the recording right here, and I'll check back in when it's done. All right, so it looks like our installation was complete. So now we're going to want to click Close. Now the next step you want to do, you want to click this notification icon here, and we're going to promote this server to a domain controller. All right. Now here we want to add a new domain for us, and we're going to name it dirk.ds. All right. Let's click Next. All right. Now this is going to require you to encrypt this with a password, so now we want to create a password. All right. You want to click Next through this. It's going to assign you a NetBIOS domain name. So for the sake of the video, we're going to leave that default. All right. Let's click Next. All right. We want to click Next through that. We're fine with those paths. Let's click Next. It's going to do a prerequisite check. All right. So we're going to go, it looks like all the checks passed, and we're going to go ahead and install. Now, this particular step will reboot your server. So just FYI. Let's click Install. Once again, this is going to take a second, and it's going to reboot the server. So I'm going to pause the recording here. I'll be right back once this step is finished. All right, we're back, and the restart has completed. So let's go ahead and try to connect now and make sure we're able to get right back in. All right. And we were able to log back in successfully, so that's great. Allow it to apply the necessary configuration. All right. So now we're back. Like I said, you want to make sure that this blue line is not moving, so that way you know it's booted all the way up fully. So let's give it a second to complete the boot up. And as you can see, the green check boxes here, you see that we are making progress. All right, perfect. So now the next step that we want to complete will be to go to manage and let's go to add roles and features. All right. So let's click next. Let's click next. All of these were the same as before. So we're going to want to select Active Directory Certificate Services, add features, and we're going to want to select DHCP server. All right. Add features, continue. Let's click next. We can leave this default and let's click next. Let's click next through here. Let's make sure certification authority, is checked. Let's click next. And once we get to confirmation, we want to click install. Once again, this can take a few moments, so I'm going to pause the video and come back once it's finished. All right, so it looks like the installation was complete, so let's click close. All right, the next step we want to do is come up here to where the notifications are, and we're going to want to configure the Active Directory certificate services. All right, very simple steps. I'm going to leave that the same. Let's click next. We want to check this box up here. All right, and let's click next, and excuse me, we're pretty much going to click through this. Like I said, we'll go into the specific details of this configuration at another time. I just want to get you booted up and running. All right. So we're going to leave all of this pretty much the same. Once we get the confirmation, we want to click configure. All right. Configuration succeeded. We want to click close. All right. So now we pretty much have everything set up to the point where we can run our own on-premises Active Directory at this point. So we're going to test it out. So let's come over here to tools, and it's numerous ways you can get to this particular location. Just going to show you one method. So let's go to tools. Let's go to users and computers. Let's come over here to our domain that we created. Come over here to users. As you can see, a number of groups, and we're going to create a new user. All right, so new user. All right, so his first name is going to be John. Last name is going to be Smith. Login name, and this is very important, so you want to remember this right here. So it's going to be john.smith at the domain that we created. So, and this login name here is very important to keep up with as well. So let's click next. And we're going to select password never expires, so we don't have to log in and reset the password at first login, just for the sake of this video, right? So let's go ahead and create that. All right, let's click next, and let's click finish. So we have our user here, right? Now the next thing we want to do is we want to create a group. So let's say John Smith is a part of the developer group. All right. Let's keep it global. Let's make it a security group. All right. Let's click OK. Now we're going to add John Smith to the developer group. There's numerous ways you can do this. I'm just going to show you one. Let's double click on John Smith. We see his user properties come up. Let's go to member of. As you can see, he's a domain user. So let's add him to the developer group. So the thing about Active Directory, if I type the letter D and I hit check names, it's going to come up with every group that starts with the letter D. So let's add them to the developer group. Let's click OK. Let's click OK. All right. Now, for future references, let's go ahead and add John Smith to another group. All right. Which is going to be enterprise admins. And you're going to see why we needed to add him to that group at a later time. So let's click OK. Let's click OK. Let's apply these changes and let's click OK. All right. So now let's go to the developer group, see it from the other end. And when you look at members, we have John Smith. All right. So what we did in this video, we successfully configured Active Directory to run on a virtual machine that we created in Azure. We set up all the configuration settings. We set up all the DNS settings, as well as we set up the users. We created a user, we created a group, we added them to a group. All right. So I'll say we got a lot done today. All right. So the next video, we're going to do a little bit more in the DNS settings, and then we're going to go ahead and complete the migration from Active Directory to Azure AD. Once again, I'm your host, Lennox Lenape. Stay tuned for part 3. Once again, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.